So welcome to another video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Grant.
And it's our May monthly debrief. And if I seem a little bit nervous, it's because we have the Tower of Terror over here just off camera that you can't see. A massive stack of games.
And it is wobbling considerably.
Yeah, tottering, wobbling. It's not my favorite thing that I've ever experienced in the whole world.
I actually needed a little tension in my life. I didn't have a rough enough week at work.
So, May was a slightly slower month for us gaming-wise from some respects, like compared to April, where we had freaking huge events and we just gamed a lot, went to Buckeye Game Fest, which was a ton of games.
I'm not so sure we're still just not catching up, frankly.
No,
I just feel like I'm tired.
Yes, that was, I think I had some pretty significant burnout after that, because it was very long.
5 days.
It was very intensive, just from an energy and a,
that Buckeye Game Fest
standpoint. It was wonderful. I loved it.
Yeah, I had a great time.
But yeah, it was a bit more a chill month.
I'm kind of worried about WBC coming up because we're going to be there the same length of days.
Yes, and whilst that's true...
And we have a 6-hour drive, one way.
I think about last year. We're going to be there longer than last year, but last year was... last year was... great. You know?
Yeah, I had a great time.
But I think... because we've been to WBC a number more times, I feel like we manage ourselves there a bit better. Like, yeah, it's some late nights, but be it in the hotel, going and taking a chill pill at lunch, I feel like...
I don't feel we manage it. We still stay up till midnight or 1 and get up at 7:30.
I was significantly more exhausted after BGF than I ever have been at WBC. And I don't know why that is, but so I'm not, like... I'm honestly not as worried about WBC.
Okay. I hope we end up doing fine.
But also understanding where we are and what it was like to be this exhausted, I feel like we would be able to see those signs and be like, all right, maybe these last few days, let's
chill it.
Rein it in a little bit. Yeah. So anyway, we still did a lot of gaming.
Yeah, I feel like we did. Not as much. I mean, we definitely skipped a couple of weeks.
Yes.
So, which is kind of rare for us.
But it's also like... my kids are now at school, and so some holidays, so there's a lot of other things going on at the same time on top of all that stuff too. But what did we do? So I think the first thing we did this month was we met up with a friend of ours, one of our patrons, Mike, I believe.
Yes.
And
from out west.
Yes, and he happened to be in town for work. And he came over and we sat down and played a war game. So this is All Bridges Burning, which is volume 10 of the Coin series.
This is our least played game in the Coin series, I think. Not because we don't like it.
I think I've played Colonial Twilight less. I think I've only played that once.
Okay.
I've played twice now.
Yeah, okay.
But
I mean,
before that day, it was the least played. It was tied for that.
And not because we didn't like it. It is significantly different than the rest of the coin games, and it's very interesting.
And it's 3-player. And so the dynamic for that, you want 3 players. Some of the games, it's like, oh, we can play it with 2 and it's fine. This one, you can do that, and that's how we had experienced it first. But with 3 players, it was very different to what we had experienced first of all. And they've, we played it like fresh out of the box. They've since come out with kind of the fixes to it because there were some errors and some imbalances.
There's a couple stickers on the board.
So since then, we've played it as it kind of, I think, should have been and was intended to be. And it was a really enjoyable evening. We had a great time, had some nice pizza in, and just had a blast playing this. Yeah. And we were all kind of... We played this, once when it first came out, like 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah.
So we were all kind of learning or relearning it, and it was a fun experience to kind of go through that together. So we appreciate Mike for showing up, because we could have been the axe murderers that day, and and playing with us. This was a really enjoyable time and getting reacquainted with this game, but it is, I will say this to people, this is much more of a war game, especially between the whites and the reds, than a lot of the other coin games are, with the way that the combat works and the different chip modifiers and things. It was very interesting, very different focus.
But then the moderates are completely off in left field doing their own thing.
Yes.
Very interesting dynamic there.
Yes.
I played the moderates and I was like, wow, this is so different.
Yes.
So I liked it. Plus, it's cool.
Yes.
I like it.
So that was
our first game of the month.
Yeah, that was early on in the month. I think then we got to Traces of War.
Yeah.
I think we took a break, and then we played Traces of War. Oh, look at this. It's upside down on the back. Here, they need to see the back of the box.
No, I'm not showing it. I refuse.
So, Traces of War from VUCA Simulations. There is a full review of this that's coming. It's in the works. Stunning production value. This is part of the Redbox series, which is a rules light 2-player hex and counter war game. Low counter density per hex. Some of the games have lots of hexes, lots of units, but this was a particular operation in the East Front. Wonderful game.
Yeah, I had a great time with this.
This was so fun.
Yeah.
I love the system. I love the series. Spoiler alert. And this production value is a huge step forward as well. And that's becoming a hallmark for VUCA Simulations, who are out of Germany.
So I would say the maps on this one are just utterly gorgeous.
They're just lovely to play with.
They're a different material. I think they're a space age material, probably we found on Mars or something.
Yeah, it's
really interesting.
It's some heavy coated paper, but
so amazing.
Ripping it would be very challenging.
Yeah, I feel like but you can see this is like a 1-inch box. I mean, it's not even a 1-inch box.
It's like 1.5 inches.
Is it 1.5 inches? You think? It just seems so small.
Because this is 2 inches, right?
Yeah. Okay, so it's But I mean, it's just a small little package, but it's a big war game. I mean, lots of counters on the board.
Pre-rounded counters.
Pre-rounded. I didn't have to clip them. I had a blast with this one.
Yeah.
I really did have it. And I played the Germans who were being...
They were the retreating faction.
Man, it was fun.
Well, because...
really fun.
And the review will address this. Not a game where you're just getting pounded upon the whole time. This is about organizing a strong rear guard and doing that organized and effectively.
Well, and it's a modified chit pool, right? You have activation chits. You select a certain amount. You're never going to have enough to do everything you want to do on the board with all your units. But you have to make those choices. Okay, I'm going to put these 2 activation chits for the 20th Panzer or whoever it was. I don't remember. And only 2 for this guy, or 1 for this guy, and I just really love that. And you didn't know, and I had an OKH chit that I could kind of circumvent the normal and activate some. It was just really nice. I really had a good time with this.
Recommend it for solo play, recommend it for 2-player play, recommend it for introductory play, recommend it for experience play.
And while we're only halfway through the year, I guarantee this one's going to be... on my top 10. It's
hard.
Good.
It's hard not to. It was such an enjoyable gaming experience.
Yeah, and VUCA is just...
They are knocking them out of the park at the moment.
They're
doing a
kind
really
of
good
on a
job
different level
with the ones
right
that
now.
we played. What else did we play this month?
I don't think we... Well, I played the Moog, which is a solo game. I think I've talked about this before. A blast. There's a playthrough and a review, I think, coming.
Yes.
This is just a fantastic little game from White Dog Games. Really enjoyed that. So I played that solo.
Yes.
While you're digging down there, I also played... I also played Hegemony, right? Hegemony. This is it's a Euro game, right? It's a 4-player Euro game where you're playing 4 different classes. Somebody's the state, somebody is the workers, somebody's kind of the
middle class, and
then the capitalists. And it's just an interesting, very coin-like, not in the mechanics, but the process of you're trying to work together sometimes and then against sometimes. I had a blast with this. In fact, we're going to play this on June the 24th with a couple of friends.
Here's the thing. I poo-poo Euro games a lot. I don't like them very much, especially they're dry and complicated.
They can be.
And kind of, I crave interaction in games.
Yeah.
But from what I've heard, this has that in droves.
It does.
Because whilst you're doing Euro-style mechanics, what I do has significant knock-on effects.
Yeah.
And the theme and what you're trying to do is both interesting and so I'm very much looking forward to this, which might be a surprise to me.
My only other comment about interaction would be there's voting. So you're voting on policies. You are also trying to influence policies. So you have influence cubes and you can garner influence by doing certain types of things. The other thing that I think is so fantastic about this game is all 4 players are intricately entwined. As the capitalist, I relied on the workers to put guys out. And then I relied on them to not get them away from me and put them in other businesses or do a strike. And that was fun. And there was a lot of role playing going on back and forth. It was a really interesting experience. I think you're going to enjoy this. I really do.
Yeah, I've seen a lot
really,
of people
really do.
on the internet who play a lot of war games.
Yeah.
And are like, this is incredible. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm very much intrigued, which I cannot say about most Euro games.
But it is a long game. It's like a 3.5 hour game.
Yeah,
but I felt like it went quickly and I was engaged.
3 hours of doing my own thing, I hate it.
Yeah, you're working with other people and against other people.
And that's what I want.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So, a couple things. So, Rally the Troops, I have played a lot of games on that.
Can you stop playing so many games on that?
No. I'm addicted. It's a problem.
Okay.
So I played one game of Pax Pavir, and you say, you just said you played a lot of games. Well, that's because in May, I completed 11 games of Andean Abyss. And in June, I've already completed 4 or 5, and I'm in like 7 more.
I want to get involved, but I'm afraid I'm not going to get involved because I don't want to become addicted. I got other things to do in my life.
It is very addicting.
Yeah.
It's really fun. It's an excellent platform, and the implementation is frankly seamless. It's wonderful. Yeah. Whilst we're here, a quick shout out to Cube for me.
Nice trees.
We have these lovely like war game sets. That's what I use for my Andean Abyss. They're wonderful. So yeah, I played a ton of stuff on that, and then I also Ed
on board. Oh, he came over and you guys played that? You didn't do it on Board Game Arena?
We're doing it on Board Game Arena.
So I have Board Game Arena. I've been doing Space Empires 4X. Would love to do Unconditional Surrender.
This is a bit more intensive. So like all the Andean Abyss, I'm doing async. This one, we get together on a lunchtime once a week, sometimes twice a week, and we'll just play like an hour or like one turn typically. So we've played, 3 or 4 turns of this, and it's going well because it saves it all. And it was, we were teaching them how to play, and so this is going. I would love to do one with you as well.
Yeah.
It's a significant time commitment, and I might be taking a pause on this as much over the summer break because my kids are home and I work from home, and it's hard to like carve out all that extra time on top of
I get it.
work. But I think once they're back in school, I will be much more open to doing more of that stuff as well.
Well, that's a game that I want to buy my own copy of. In fact, I have P500 the reprint with the mounted map board. When that comes out, hopefully next year or sometime, I'm going to set that up in my basement and play
but whilst that might be like, that was a lot of gaming, I don't know, for us, I felt like that wasn't all that much.
Well, we didn't do as many face-to-face games, frankly. And that's okay.
Okay.
We did Frosthaven.
We also play a lot of Frosthaven.
We had a good time. I just always have a good time with that.
This is what we play when we want like a break from.
Well, we play with our father-in-law, and
it's just like so much fun. And I know a lot of people are like, "What do you mean this is like your for fun game?" Because it's massive and complicated.
It's very fun.
Yeah, we're insane people, but it's incredible.
So it is incredible. I will say this: we have now played probably near 20 scenarios.
Yes, and we're about
1/5
of the way through the campaign.
Yeah. You have retired a guy.
Yeah,
you're retiring a guy. The one complaint I think I have about the game is I feel like I have tons of money, tons of resources, tons of everything, and we don't have anything to spend it on. Now, I know we talked about it. Once you start retiring guys, you get the the market, and you can start buying more stuff.
You can unlock buildings and spend more, and then you.
But that's been one part of that new system that I've been slightly disappointed in.
Yeah, because I feel like in Gloomhaven, the kind of the money and growth of like the prosperity was much more of a straight line, whereas this it's more like we did everything we could and then it flattened out.
Yeah.
And then it's we could do some more and then it's flattened out.
And that's okay. I do think it's okay.
But it's different. Not having a store to spend things on and to buy items, even though we have available items, is weird. Yeah. So I'm going to blow all of our inspiration and open it, frankly.
Yeah. No, I get it.
But that's been a bit... They're different.
I think that's the only thing has been... I think at first I was extremely excited about it. The concept of collecting, wood and leather and I'm trying to metal and the different herbs. That was fun. You know, it's like collecting that stuff, getting the right combinations. And now I feel like, oh, wait, we can't do anything with it. I have 13 metal on my, and it's just like,
Yeah, you can't physically spend it.
a little disappointing.
And then I think they like removed the shop to help you focus on crafting earlier, but then like we maxed out the craftsman, and it's like, getting prosperity is so difficult.
Yeah.
Whereas in
Getting reputation.
in Gloomhaven, you could donate.
Yep. And once you hit a certain level, it went up.
You'd hit these prosperity.
You don't have that option.
You don't have, and so that's like.
And we still don't have.
Maybe that gets somewhere, and something like that happens, but we're just used to like it going away, and it's just very different.
It's probably, I'm a little disappointed because we know what Gloomhaven was in those regards, and here we're still experiencing.
Yeah,
and that's fine.
At some point,
having a
we'll
blast.
get to that point probably.
Having a blast.
But yeah, I love the system and the missions and the car. It's
and many people might ask, why do you play that game? Well, it's a tactical miniatures game at its heart.
Yes,
we are out on a board. They're not hexes necessarily, but
they're hexes.
Yeah, they are. You're right. You're right. But we're on that board and we're moving around trying to get into position, do things, use our abilities, work together. They always seem to come down to the last.
Yeah, it's always dire straits, and you're like, oh!
And we just have a blast doing it because we get the same feeling of, combat, working together, working against. It's just a blast.
It's a little bit of a war game. It's a little bit of Dungeons and Dragons. It's a little bit of
great story.
The action economy with your cards is 10 out of 10.
Some people complain about it. I think it's amazing.
Nah, they're wrong about that. Speaking of which, I am running a D&D campaign. That's some other gaming that I'm doing just for some new players in the area. But I think, wow, is that all the gaming that we did in May?
I think so.
That was...
More than I thought. I think when we started talking about it, I thought, oh, we didn't do very much, but we did.
That's probably a normal amount of gaming for us.
Right.
But we've just had like a couple months of like...
So much.
So, speaking of which, in June, we are looking to play more games.
Yeah.
So, I think some games that we have on the docket already is we're going to play the next one of the British Way. So we played Palestine a couple months ago. This month we are going to play Malaya because we're going to play them chronologically.
Yep.
I think after that it might be, I think it's Kenya and then Cyprus is the last one, I believe. 2-player coin game, little quad pack.
90 minutes.
Played the first one, it's really good.
Yeah.
Played the second one, it's really good.
Yeah, we played tonight. It's really fun.
It's just fun.
It's just so unique too. Each of the little situations are different. And it's just fun. They're enjoyable, very enjoyable.
And it's this like mini coin game and a short package, and you only need 2 players.
I love the concept because we've played so many 4-player coin games, and you have to sit sometimes, and you're inactive. I love not being inactive. We're active on every turn. We are going on every turn, and that's cool. I like it.
Yeah, every decision is like an immediate thing, whereas in some of the 4 players, hey, I'm going to do a thing over here, and then it's like, it's a faction who's on the other side of the board that maybe I'm less concerned about their interaction. They're futzing around over here, but yeah, you're right. Yeah. It's just a 2-player game, right? It's always.
I love the British way.
It's very, very good. What else have we got going on?
We are going to play Saigon 75.
Yes.
From Nuts Publishing. We've already played it.
Yes.
It's fantastic. Really cool Vietnam game. The name should tell you everything that you need to know.
Yes.
Saigon's 1975. The war's almost over. So the Arvin, the South Vietnamese player, is more in defensive mode, whereas the NVA player...
It's their final grand assault.
Yeah. So but it's a blast. Very unique cards, kind of an action economy with the number of actions you can take or units you can activate. And there's a neat little dice combat system where you've got customized dice, you're rolling them. It's just fun.
And it's
very cool.
Takes an hour to play.
And it's beautiful. So Saigon 75 from Nuts Publishing.
I think the other thing that we might want to play as well,
we've got
a few, is Heroes of Normandy.
Normandy.
Sorry, I was looking at Heroes of World War II at the top.
Well, that's the series. Heroes of World War II, and this is Heroes of Normandy.
This is Heroes of Normandy, Big Red 1 edition. We just got this off the Kickstarter,
Yep.
so we'll mention it here again
And
a
the
little bit.
Kickstarter was for the Battle of
Battle of Khan.
Khan, but this was the base game from like 3 years ago. We got it as well. We added it on, and we wanted to play this first before we dive into the next.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of great things about this. It looks fun.
Yep.
It looks like the kind of game, like it's a tabletop tactical miniatures game, but just on
Without
a board,
mini-
right?
without
And
miniatures,
so
yeah.
you get a lot of game in this kind of a package, and it just looks like a fun, pulpy, run and shooting, but
Each scenario
tactical game.
plays in 45 to 90 minutes, so it's, you can play a couple in a night, wait a couple of weeks and play it again.
Yeah.
It just looks really good. I have 5 or 6 boxes at home, so we're going to start with the base set, try to play it a couple times, then go into the con stuff. So the other 2 games we're going to try to play desperately this month. The Russian Campaign 5th edition from GMT Games.
Yes.
This is all clipped. It's all ready to go. I'm very excited about this. This is a classic that we have not touched yet.
No.
You have the
I have the
Compass Games
the
edition.
Russian Campaign 1974 like designer edition,
Yeah.
which is basically the same thing.
Got it.
I think this one has a few more like tweaks and changes, whereas
Okay.
that is just a nice version of the original
Got
where
it.
they redid the artwork and the counters.
My only complaint about this, and I'm going to show you the back of the box. Notice it's oriented correctly. The counters are very different shades of greens.
Very
different
close shades of green.
and they are very hard to differentiate. I'm going to be completely honest. I have good eyes. I was clipping those.
But I don't. And when you showed me that, because you had texted me and said,
Yep.
"Oh, this is weird," and then when I saw
look
it,
at those are 2 different colors of green. They look almost identical.
yeah, and the same with the browns.
Yep.
Like that's it.
These are very, very close.
Yeah, that's a tough one for me
It's going to be interesting.
with some of those.
But I'm excited about this. This is one that we've looked forward to for a long time because it's a game that I want to play so that I can say, oh, we've played one of the classics, right? So looking forward to this. We are definitely playing.
But it's
this
also
month.
in a nice package with
Oh,
a nice
yeah.
new rule set that
Beautiful.
doesn't read like it's from 1980s.
Yep.
And if the rules are anything like the African campaign, they are very straightforward,
Mm-hmm.
very easy to learn, and not overly complicated.
Yeah.
It's quite a traditional hex and counter war game.
Yep.
So I'm very excited.
And
for this one.
there are 4 or 5 different scenarios, all the way from 5 to 25 turns. So
Is this 2 maps or 1?
it's 2 maps. It's a cool looking game. Very excited about this one. It's one that I desperately want to play. The other one, I just got this off of Kickstarter. This is from Compass Games. This is called 2040, An American Insurgency. This is not a coin series game, but it's a coin-like game. I think that's what its influence was. It's just 2-player, but it is based on a theoretical, in the future, 2040, American Civil War, right? You'll notice the red and the blue, so it's kind of divided up into in those 2 camps. The designer kind of tried to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Non-political.
Yeah, so
with it.
In my understanding is that the red and the blue has absolutely nothing to
It
do with the
doesn't.
factions in this.
No.
That just happens to be color choice
Yeah.
and is meaningless to what current politics might lead us to believe.
I've been a little disappointed with some of the comments on Twitter because I got this week. I opened it up, I unboxed it. It went up on the YouTube channel, I think, yesterday or today.
Yeah, a few days ago from when this was
I've
posted.
clipped this. This is not an overly produced game. It's fairly basic.
Yes.
It does have a nice mounted map board, although the map is not grand. It's functional. But I've been a little disappointed because I've seen people making comments about it, and I feel like they're not even giving it a shot. And I think we pride ourselves on, I'm going to try this game.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to tell you what I thought of the game, whether I liked it, what the experience was like, and then you can try it, right? I don't care if nobody ever buys this. I still want to play it because to me, it's an interesting, unique take on a subject that I don't know that there's a lot of games out there.
No. Yeah, it's... I want to play this with you. I really do.
That's all you're going to say.
Yeah, because I have no idea what this game is going to be.
Okay.
This game could be mechanically really fun.
Sure.
It could be a train wreck.
It could.
But
Yep.
we won't know until we play it.
Yep.
And we will play it.
What I would say about it mechanically is it is a card-driven game. There are cards, you can use action points, or you can use the events. Pretty simple.
Yeah. But like
How it all works together.
when I think about like insurgencies and asymmetric factions, that's the part that like really gets me going.
Sure.
I want like a state or a government faction that's like some kind of big bulky machine that's really powerful but maybe not as reactive, and then it's like the insurgents are running around trying to keep hidden,
Yep.
and it's the the kind of cockroach effect, right?
Sure.
Trying to not get stamped on, and if you do, you still squeal out from under the bed,
Yeah.
right? Like, does it give me that?
Yeah. No, I get it. It also, I think, uniquely looks at the news cycle. There's some stories that affect you. It also has a social media track that influences things. I just think it's interesting, right? Is it going to be the best designed, best envisioned simulation?
We don't
I don't
know.
But we're going to give it a try. So anyway, hopefully this month we'll get displayed.
Yes.
That's all I'm
is that, yes. I will also play more Andy and Abyss this month.
Sure.
That will definitely happen. It is already happening. Oh, and I think the other thing that I wanted to try to get done at some point this month,
Did you set this up a couple times?
I had set it up last week, is I have Combat from Compass Games, finally. Noble Knight had it in, and they had a good price, so I pulled the trigger. It's one that people have been asking me about for years.
I'm gonna make one comment about Noble Knight because they're our sponsor.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you guys knew that. We do get games from their selection. We from time to time have a game in our mind and we hunt for it, right?
Well, and this is one that I put on the email alerts.
Right. So
And
when
they're
it comes
very-
in, you get an alert, right? So I also recently got End of Empire from Compass Games, about 2011, I think the game. It's a French.
it that old?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
It's a French and Indian war game. I've been wanting it for a while, and I finally saw it on there, and I'm like, you know what? I got it. I paid a reasonable price for it. It came 3 or 4 days. I got Quartermaster General World War II.
with a bunch of little mini expansions in
Yeah,
it.
didn't we buy Friedrich off of there? I
one
bring
of
it
those
up
two.
because there's so many of these games that I've wanted for a while, but you go out on the secondary market and now Noble Knight sometimes is pricey because they're out of print games. I get it.
But there are a lot of that. Oftentimes they'll have like sales
Yes.
on, and you can get 5-10% off of them, or
Yep.
sometimes they just are really reasonably priced.
Yes,
Like,
you just have to look.
and sometimes or sometimes you just gotta play the waiting game.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, if something feels out of your price range, just wait, because someone else will
Yeah.
they'll have another copy of it.
My guess is these become available because they just did a second edition reprint.
Potentially.
And I think people probably backed that from Compass. Therefore, they didn't need their first edition copies. They gave them to
Probably.
sold them or traded them into.
And
Noble Knight.
I'll download an errata list and I will play it, and I don't
This
care.
box is upside down.
This box is upside down because I had set this up and then I put it away because I was reading the rules and I just never got to actually setting it up. Ask me if I already bought Volume 2 though. So at some point this will happen. I'm hoping to at least play around with it this month because I cannot tell you how many people ask me about that game.
Sure.
And I just...
We have been asked about that a lot over the past 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and it's...
Have you played Combat?
And
No,
it
we have
looks
not.
really good, and I think it fills because people love Ambush from Avalon Hill back in the day, and this is like, it's mechanically different, but it's a solo tactical game, Hex Encounter.
It's a spiritual successor
Yeah, it's
to that concept.
and so people really like it, and so I'm like, okay, I just got to
Who's the designer?
bite the bullet
I
and
don't
do
even
it.
know who the designer
The
is.
designer is one Russ Mortal.
Okay, he did. He didn't do a CSS Saipan, but he did one of those.
He did one of the company scale systems.
Yeah, which one
Well,
did
and
he
this is
do?
developed by Adam Starkweather,
Yeah.
who did do Saipan.
Sorry.
Did he?
One of those games.
Did he do this one?
Did he do
Guam?
Guam?
Yes, he did.
He did. There you go.
I have Guam on my shelf,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I've never played it.
Yeah.
I really want to.
We have Saipan and we played it. It was amazing. So
Big game. Big
Big
game.
game.
Those
Lots
are
of
big games.
counters.
Big game. Wow.
I love that company scale system because it's at a scale where you get some of the crunchiness with unit types and weapons.
Yeah.
And I had a blast. Oh, you got to get your machine guns up. I had a blast with that system.
Those are some of the crunchiest games I think we've ever played.
I really like
with that detail. Because do you remember the movement track of those?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Where you have to my machine guns section, yep. I can reassign them within a company, but it's delayed, and then you can put them out. What a cool little thing.
Yeah.
But then, you put out your machine gun counters.
Yeah.
And then they have this little field of fire that they can fire out.
And they can do reaction fire.
And they're brutal.
Yeah. And we did bonsai charges.
That was a very intense game.
Sorry, I went off on a tangent, but I really enjoyed CSS Saipan and would love to play Guam. I also have Montelimar.
That's the same system, isn't it? But Europe, that's like a 5-mapper, isn't it?
It's a huge game. We bought it at WBC because we got
Guam's 4 maps too.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. Well, we have a bigger table coming, so we can ultimately get to those one day. One day.
Yeah, that's a set it up and play it for a month game, huh?
Yes. We have a couple of those we want to play.
Yeah.
I've got Day of Days.
One day.
Multi-man.
And that day is getting closer.
Well, our big tables are coming.
Yeah, your
father-in-law's working on those. And
yes.
Looking forward to it. So that was all the games we played.
And all the games that we will play as well.
Yes.
Yes. I believe that's it. So, and I'm sure there'll be other bits and pieces that get tossed in, but that was everything that we got going on. Real quick, for Kickstarters, we kind of mentioned a few of them already.
Yeah.
We had the old Heroes of Normandy and the Battle of Caen expansions show up off of Kickstarter.
I'm going to be honest. I don't do Kickstarter a lot.
No.
But when you get a big box that has 6 or 7 boxes inside, it's really fun.
It feels good.
I spent about 2 hours kind of opening them, rifling them. I mean, there's custom dice. It's just so cool.
And then you can just not play it and sell it onto Noble Knight Games.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. I mean,
no, I know that feel.
Most of our Kickstarters we at least play once or twice.
Yes.
Most of them.
I was being facetious. No, you shouldn't.
I don't spend money on them and never play them. It just may take a while.
I know a lot of people do that.
Yeah. But anyway, that one was on Kickstarter. There was a couple of others.
Your 2014, that showed up. That was a Kickstarter as well.
Yeah, it was fresh off of Kickstarter.
Going on right now, there is Unhappy King Charles. It's not a Kickstarter, but that's on this weird pre-order thing that they got going on. I've played Unhappy King Charles. It's really good.
Yeah, it's English Civil War, right?
Yes. And then
First or second English Civil War?
First.
Okay, yeah, I'm not English, so I don't know.
Third,
seventh.
But I played that. It was really good. Really liked it.
You played that with Mike, right?
Yes, and that's
that was one I couldn't make it that night.
Same system as Washington's War, but with some extras in it. They've revamped the map and the look of it and tidied up the rules. So
and that's like you said, pre-order.
Yes, and a lot of people kind of interested in that, but could never get a hold of Unhappy King Charles because it was out of print, it was expensive.
Yeah.
Now's your opportunity to get it. It is out there. Go and get it for the price that you can.
Yeah. Burning Banners from Compass Games by Christopher Moeller is coming to Kickstarter on June 13th.
I will be pressing the back button so hard and so fast on that.
Yeah. I have an interview coming out with him. It's a fantasy style war game, 4 big maps. Lots of different scenarios, but there's some RPG elements in it. There's some advanced elements where you have some heroes. We saw it at WBC last year, and it just looks fun.
And if you don't know, Chris Moeller, he was an artist for Magic the Gathering.
Yeah,
and
he's skilled.
His map illustrations and all of his artwork for Burning Banners is stunning. And we saw it a year ago. The produced version of it is going to be...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I couldn't be looking forward to that game more.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
Yes.
So that's another one that I know about. I also know there's others coming this month, but I can't remember all the details, so I'm not going to... Not going to say anything.
So, yeah. I think that's everything, at least from that standpoint.
Yeah.
So, real quick, a word from our sponsor, Noble Knight Games. We're very appreciative of Noble Knight Games sponsoring us and supporting the wargaming hobby. We love doing what we do, playing games, and being able to discuss them with you guys. And Noble Knight helps to make that possible. Very grateful for them.
So I don't want to spoil anything, but Dan Leader contacted us. He's with Noble Knight. he said that he would like to do a coupon or a code. So maybe next month we will have one.
Yeah, we will. We'll, that's in the works. Yeah, we'll let you know when that's going to happen.
Yeah. I hope he didn't change his mind after he let me know
Well,
about that.
we've put him in a box now.
Yeah. Back him in a corner. Yeah.
But yeah, you can see I regularly have like email notifications for like harder to get games or games that are out of print or ones that I like couldn't get a hold of at the time. I use them all the time.
Yeah.
It's a great service.
And I know you've used them for years. I've bought a couple things from them over the years, but not as many as you.
I've boxed
You've
up
sold
games
stuff to
and
them.
sold stuff to them.
Yeah,
They make it is
over there.
It's very seamless. Yeah, I got another set. I need to get boxes to actually send them all.
You're
out.
not getting rid of Eclipse, are you?
No. Do you want it?
Oh, is that that's
the first edition? Yeah.
I don't want it.
Yeah.
I'll never play it.
If you want a copy of first edition Eclipse with like a bunch of extra stuff in it, let me know.
Such a good game.
It's really good.
Very fun.
So,
the topic.
The topic.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Normally, our topic is suggested by our patrons, which you can join our Patreon for $5 a month. I put a post out, and you can suggest topics for it, and we usually pick those, and that's your way to influence this. We're very grateful for all our patrons. This month, however, we chose one of our own.
Yeah.
But it is one that has been requested by patrons in the past.
Previously, yeah.
But it was something that we'd been talking about and that you had brought up and was like, I think this is something that's like...
It'll be cool.
Needs to be talked about and it's very cool.
Yeah.
So, today we are talking about series games.
Mm-hmm.
So, and specifically like, why do we like series games? You know, there's so many one-offs. I have a billion one-offs.
And we love those too, right?
Those are great, but
that's a
series,
difficult...
What does a series offer us?
Yeah.
What's the benefits of those? Because I'll be honest, when we first started wargaming, people would talk about series games, and it was both a bunch of acronyms, and it was always like, hey, like collection completionists with like 25 of these games, and it was like, okay. That's a bit much.
Yeah.
That's a lot. But we've had a significant amount of experience in gaming since then, and I have
8
come
years
to
now.
like really appreciate and to acknowledge what series games really bring to the table.
Yeah.
So, to start off, we have a bunch of series that we will kind of talk about things, kind of ones that we like.
Yeah.
But let's start kind of generally. What do we love about a series? Why a series of games?
Well, I know for me, when we learn new systems, it can be quite exhausting, right?
Yes.
It can be a challenge. We always invariably miss something or mess something up. I mean, that's part of a war gamer.
You never get the rules right.
You're never going to get it 100% right. But in a series, you have that opportunity to learn a game. You know, you play the first game in a series, you learn it, you like it, you're like, oh, I really like this. And then lo and behold, they come out of it with a second game in that same series. It might deal with a different battle or a different conflict or a different time period, but it uses generally, right, the same series rules as that first one that you liked. But they've maybe added some little tweaks here and there.
Yeah.
Exclusive rules is typically what there's series rules and then there's
Game exclusive rules, yeah.
But I think that's a good thing. Like anytime I pick up a coin series game, I know the general concepts.
Yes.
Right? You've got ops and special activities. You've got cards that you're using. You've got pieces on the board. More often than not, guerrilla pieces need to be covered up to be used properly. If they're exposed, they're in trouble. But those are things that you can become comfortable with and feel like, oh, I understand this, no matter which of the games in the series you play.
Yes, and most coin games have things that like track across all of them.
Yeah.
You think about the deck of cards for initiative with the events on them. You think about...
there's an interlude period called a propaganda or a coup.
Or whatever it's called.
Yeah, it's an interlude.
Serves the same function in all of them.
Yep.
There's the sequence of play / eligibility track. Mm-hmm. That's in all of them.
Some of them are different.
It might take a different form, but most of them it shares the same form.
Yeah.
And then generally speaking, although slightly less, you usually have some form of state or government style faction.
A powerful faction.
Yes, the people, the establishment.
Yep.
And then you have smaller insurgent factions trying to, bend the game to their will.
Yeah, moving in the shadows, doing some things that aren't necessarily always seen as morally correct or acceptable.
Just different. Yeah.
Right, it's different.
And that takes a lot of different forms across a lot of different coin games, but you know that there's certain things going into it. And what I will tell you is also, like, in the more recent games in the series, like there's a lot of them, that you'll see sets of rules in the rulebook that's like, hey, if you've played it before, here's some things that are different. Like, it will have a section that says that.
So, for example, a good example of that is tonight we played the British Way Malaya. Oops. We talked about that, right?
Yeah.
We played that, and one of across the different games, one of the concepts is you've only got the guys that you've got.
Yes.
You're limited by a number of pieces. Some of the games, though, once they're all out on the board, you have to start, like, if you want new guys, you got to move guys. I think in the British Way...
So, I think it's different in each one. In Palestine...
Yeah, it's true.
Once your pieces were on the board, you couldn't rally anymore.
No, you couldn't.
Whereas...
Until one died or was put off the board.
Yeah, they had to be available in the available box.
Now, tonight, you were able to take one from here and spawn him down here.
Yes.
So there's some differences, right? There's always some unique elements that try to capture the history of that conflict.
And the newer ones, like a good series, call that out. There's a little box in the rules that says,
this is different.
Hey, in red, by the way,
yeah,
remember this, because this is either different from what you saw earlier in this particular box, or this is very familiar to experienced players. This is different from what you've seen before.
Yeah.
I remember in Palestine, they mentioned... Oh no, it was in Old Bridges Burning. There was a whole rules section about how many terror markers you could put out.
Yes.
And there is a cap of 1 in that, because there's different types of terror in that game. It's like a whole other thing. Well, but they call that out.
While you're mentioning All Bridges Burning, one of the things I thought was really unique about that one is more often than not, guerrilla units are more powerful when they're covered up.
Yes.
When they're underground. In that game, they were more powerful when they were exposed or turned up. So, I played the moderates, and one of my things was I got a certain amount of resources for every guy I had turned up and a base, and it was like, that's a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
It's a slight change.
It's a significant change.
Well, but it's a change that you got to be aware of. So that's one of the other things I like about series games. I like to see what the different designers are going to try.
Yeah.
Right? You get one designer, Volko put together the first game of the series, Andy and Abyss. Then Jeff Grossman did number 2. He had some new elements. They had economic centers. And I mean, it's cool to see what the new designers are going to bring to the system. And that's another thing I enjoy about series games. I like the comfort of understanding the rules, but I also like the ability to see some, how's it going to mold to the ancient period.
It's a very different kind of gaming and learning experience. Instead of like, I've got this title over here, and it's like, cool, I learned all these rules. Then I learned a whole new set of rules for this whole different game and a different model. Whereas in a coin game, when a coin game comes out, my questions are, what are they going to do with the stuff that's in the box, and what are they going to add to it?
Yeah.
Because changing around and modifying what's there is the cool new thing to play around with within something that's familiar, and I think that's a really interesting gaming experience.
Yeah. The other comment I would say about what I like about series of games as well is you become familiar with them.
Yes.
And I think familiarity with the mechanics allows you to delve more into the strategy. Because I'm not worrying so much about how I do it. I'm now worrying about why I'm going to do something.
Without question, to me, that's the number one thing.
Yeah.
If I pick up an SCS game, we'll talk about Standard Combat Series, I know what the rules are. So I'm going to read the 2 pages of games exclusive rules, and all I have to digest is how that changes the game. And then I'm immediately playing the game, and I am not reading the rulebook.
Yeah.
And that is such a boon to gaming.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you see a lot of very seasoned war gamers, and they'll be like, they'll have like all of like the great battles of history, and they play that all the time.
Yeah.
Because because you know the rules, and you can pick one up, and you're like almost immediately doing it. And it just, you don't have that huge input and uptake every single time you open a new box.
Sure. And there's something to be said for that. A lot of what we do is we play a game once or twice. And sometimes, and we say this a lot, man, I want to play that again because I now know what to do.
Yeah.
You know, and it's...
What we do is very unique, and the schedule that we have typically doesn't allow us to like revisit every game that we want to all the time.
Right. But we have new games we want to talk about. And
yeah, but you know, I think for most people, it's like, cool. They're going to experience that. They're going to play this game, and they're going to play it again, and they can play it again. And then they're going to get the next one in the series.
Yeah.
And you already have all of that knowledge, and you're immediately putting it into this.
Yep.
And so instead of having to learn all this, you're already up here, and you're just like, cool. It's becoming, you know, you're learning the strategies and stuff.
I have a couple of the Commando series game from the Folio games from Decision Games.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're called the Commando series.
So little solo ones.
Yeah, Merrill's Marauders and the American Revolutionary one. I can't remember what it is. But I have played those a lot, and I love to go back and revisit them because I'm like, oh, I remember this now. I got to do this. And it's just so cool because each of those are very different. They're different time periods. They're different wars. But that's one of the things I love about series can be very fresh. They don't just have to be rote copies of what was before. They can actually be very, very fresh. Now, some series, let's be honest, they knock off the name and they put a new map out and it's the same thing. Right? And some of that's okay.
Yeah, I don't think
there's nothing wrong with that either.
I think, because...
I look at SCS. I want to play them all, and they all use the same rules.
Yep.
And that's what I like about it.
But some of them are wildly different.
That's true.
And
it's true.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So let's get SCS down. Let's talk about SCS.
Yeah. So
because SCS
I will feel better about this Leaning Tower of games.
Yes. So SCS is from Multi-Man Publishing. It originally started with the gamers. I think this is... Africa was their second one.
Well, and I think it's up to like 25 now. Like, I think Rostov was like 22 or 23.
Rostov's 21.
Okay, 21.
And
now there's been at least one or two more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know this is a good system because it's
a war
been
gaming
around.
Series has been around since 1992 and is still being made.
This was published in 2021.
North Africa I've got I think was 22.
Okay.
And they've got at least one...
Ardennes 2, is that an SCS? But is that just a second edition of Ardennes?
I think Ardennes was the very first one they ever did. And so like they have Africa 2, which you can't get anymore, which was the second edition of this.
Yeah.
I think it's a second edition of that, I believe.
Okay.
But like the game's, it's been around for 30 years, and they're still making new ones.
Yeah.
And they're still extremely popular.
And they're still being bought.
That says something, right?
Yep.
So we have come to this series more recently than a lot of players.
Yeah,
Rostov was our first one a couple of years ago.
Yep. And now since we've played 2 or 3, you've played a couple more than I have.
And I've got more on the shelf, and I want to play them.
Yep.
So SCS is...
And SCS is Standard Combat Series.
Yes.
And I think the name really is what it is. It is pretty standard, hex and counter, move and attack and move, fairly basic. Now, what I would say is, in my experience, they can be wildly different.
Oh, yes.
This game, I felt, Rostov 41, was a little more open than some of the other ones we've played.
Yes.
And I'm totally good with that. I like some that are static lines where you're in contact the whole time. I also like some of these where you're trying to I'm going to go this way and then I'm going to go this way because it's fun.
And Africa, like you might expect, is wild.
Yeah.
And it has this whole extra supply mini game in it that has a huge effect on the game. But this is the game that has an 8-page series rules, and you get 2 pages of game specific rules. And let's see, I have version, gosh. This is like version 1 of the rules.
Oh, my dice.
And I think, what do you have in there? So I have series
I
rules
was looking for that.
version
1.8.
And I have series rules version 1.5, and this is from 1993.
And this is from 2021.
And that was 1.8, you said?
1.8.
And I think that's the newest one. I don't think there's any newer ones.
So they've
than
made
that.
some changes and upgrades, but it's still, in general, the same
Yeah,
system.
the changes they make to the series rules are like, ooh, we made a typo.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
They are so slick and so streamlined.
Yep.
And it's standard combat series. It is really easy. Here's my odds-based ratios. Roll on the table with a d6.
Well, and what I would say is, if you're ever wanting to dip your toes into a little bigger war game, standard combat series is a good starting point.
That could be your first hex encounter
really
war game.
could.
No big deal.
And I think Rostov 41, we started, it's a one mapper.
Yes,
It had maybe 50 counters per side,
at most.
but I still felt like it was a heavy,
And
solid war game.
and tactically very interesting.
Yep, absolutely.
Lots of things that you can do. It's not just a line of units against a line of units.
This one I think is on pre-order kind of for a second edition.
Yeah. It's
So
like,
MMP.
I think this sold out very quickly.
It did,
When
it did.
And this is
And I'm glad we got a
cash
copy
rate.
because
Really good.
I really enjoyed it. So, standard combat series. Now, Multiman Publishing has done multiple series, right?
Yes, and we'll talk about
Let's move to the next
Because
series.
SCS is kind of like their simplest. Well, that's actually not true, but that's their simplest in-the-house system, is what I'm going to say.
I think the complexity is four, maybe 5. These are more like 5 and 6.
So this is BCS. So we had Standard Combat Series.
Mm-hmm.
This is Battalion Combat Series. Now, we've only played one title in this
Yeah,
line.
we've just played the one.
Do we own a lot more?
Yes. I have Brazen Chariots. You have...
I have Brazen Chariots.
Which one do I have?
You have... do you have like Panzer's Last Stand or Baptism by Fire or something like that?
Baptism by Fire. That's the one I've got.
Panzer's Last Stand, I think, is...
So I would
BCS.
also say they have the Yom Kippur War coming out, Valley of Tears.
Yes.
That's a BCS game.
Yes.
So anyway, we've only played the one. We
Yes.
have only played the one.
But we bought a bunch because it was really good.
We did. We had such a good time with it.
And Aracourt is a great place to start.
Well, because it's
one map. No, it's not, and we say, oh, it's a great place to start. It's one map. I say that because people who are new to the system, you're gonna get overwhelmed by a big 5 mapper, right? Or you're gonna spend $150 and you're gonna play one map of this 5 mapper. And it was like and then you don't like it, and it's like I spent $150 on that.
Yeah.
Aracourt, one map. You're gonna have a few different formations, and they're blobs.
One of the best war game terms I think I've ever heard.
And
it makes perfect sense.
And this is going to show you what BCS is and what it can do, and you're going to engage with it, and it's going to be, you either really like it, or it might not be for you, but you can parlay this into the rest of those bigger games in the series.
Yeah.
I felt like the series rules in this one, they're a bit chunkier, a bit bigger than Standard Combat Series, a bit more...
There's the snafu role concepts, and
you have
activations that
much
are
more
variable.
supply and much more command and control in
you have
this
little
one.
baggage trains in this one? Or
Yes.
What did they call them? I'm trying to remember what they called them.
I can't, because
it wasn't baggage.
You had your little
trains,
supply, and then there was the
hell was
other
that
part
called?
of it.
Sorry, I
I
don't
wonder
have
if
my
they've got them
glasses
on there.
on.
But like this
cool.
is a much more involved system than Standard Combat
doesn't
Series,
say.
but not the most involved. You can still solitaire. That's no big deal. But this is like a bit more of a medium complexity. But once again, we had a blast with this, and it was immediately like, ooh, I want to get more games in this series, and we did.
Oh yeah, I'll never forget. We sat down. We were talking about the rules, and we began pushing the counters around. And I thought to myself, wow, this is very different.
Very different.
Unique. It's interesting. It's still World War II. Uses some of the same concepts. Just throws in some new elements.
The things that we were doing in this game, I don't do in almost any other game.
No.
And that was something that I was like, wow. I really liked that about this. And I wanted more of it. I wanted to experience more of it.
But I think BCS highlights what I really like about series is stretching concepts. Adding in new elements that make sense for this scale, this situation.
Yeah.
The other thing I liked about this game was they had a very cool called Bazooka Joe.
I can't remember what his
He
actual
literally
name
was flying around on a plane with bazooka strapped to the wings, And he was like, so you have a chit that you can use 1 or 2 times.
And a little roll.
It was just fun. But that was something unique, specifically historically, from this battle. The Battle of Ericourt in, southern France, southwest France? I don't know. I really like the BCS system. Now, I didn't bring my OCS game. I have Smolensk.
No, but I have Reluctant Enemies right here.
Okay.
And I think that might be the only OCS game that I have.
So and this system scares me.
So, yeah.
A little bit.
OCS
Gotta be honest.
is the Operational Combat Series. This is this is an even bigger game and a system than Battalion Combat Series.
I think this is more complexity, 6, 7.
I think it's more than that.
8.
I think for most people this is like an 8 or a 9.
Yeah.
Because now we're getting into like an even more granular level of detail with like, okay, my units are in supply. That's kind of how you can get your units into supply in the other game. And this one, it's like, how much supply? And then who do I assign the supply to? And how do they then use them?
And then there's throwing supply.
As opposed to drawing supply.
Right, so it's, you literally have like, what do they call them, extenders?
Yes.
So you can move extenders up that then can extend your lines for a short period of time.
Yeah.
And there's just so many cool concepts in this. So we have these, I have Smolensk, small game. This one I think is smaller.
Yes.
I want to clip that. I want to get through it. I'd like to play it.
These have a lot more counters.
Yep.
This is, you're starting to get into like
stacks of death.
Doom
4 and
stacks
5 stacks.
and stuff. So know that that's what you're getting yourself into. But once again, there is a significant dedicated following to OCS.
Oh, yeah. You'll have OCS players say that you're not a wargamer unless you play OCS. I'm being honest.
No,
right?
it's true.
And I like to talk to those guys, and I'm good with that. I don't have a negative opinion about them because they say that, but just because you love that system doesn't mean that it's necessarily for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's the other great thing about series. You're going to have a series that you're going to ultimately enjoy.
Yes.
Right? And I think these 3 examples that we've given from Multiman Publishing, I love the SCS series.
Yes.
I am really intrigued and interested in the BCS series. Now, this one has me peeing down my leg, but I still want to play it.
Yeah.
I want to try it.
Yes.
But so that's 3 series from 3 companies, generally designed by one company. Yeah, Dean Essig's. I think Essig did all. Yeah, he did like all of them.
He pretty much
He's kind of the godfather of MMP games, right? But I can try them all and they have a different focus. And I think that's cool. And then if I like a system, we can get all those games and we can play those games.
Yeah, because if you're going to invest your time into this, that's wonderful. But you also unlock a door to all of these other titles in this series.
Yeah.
And most of these series, like this is an old one from 2013. And in 2013, this was game number 13 in the series.
Yeah.
I know OCS has definitely got more, and they've got even more. I think we have one on pre-order.
Which one do we have on pre-order?
I think it's...
Sorry, I don't remember. Did we pre-order one?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, is it a big one?
No, and I think that's why I did it. I can't remember if it was like Tunisia 2 or Sicily 2. It's
okay.
There's something that they have on pre-order, because it was a small one in like a magazine format.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
I don't remember.
I think it is Tunisia.
And I was like, oh, cool.
Or maybe it's Sicily. Yeah.
It's something small that's like, oh, we might actually get to it. So,
anyway, so that's an example of a company that uses, same designers created 3 different systems that really deal with different either scales or situations or concepts, but they create very playable, very interesting, unique series. So I actually really love those, and I'm glad we gave some of those a shot. So we've got many, many more here. I wanted to talk about the 4X series because we have really enjoyed these games quite a lot, and we have others that we own, but we have yet to play.
Shamefully so, honestly.
Yeah, because they're classics.
I've got Normandy 44 on the shelf. I've got Ardennes 44 on the shelf. And those are like, people will be like, oh, you haven't played those?
Yeah,
I haven't.
I'm embarrassed.
I'm going to, at some point. Don't worry about it.
We played these. First one we played was Holland 44. Absolutely love this
10 out of 10 game. One of my favorite war games of all time.
I love the system. I will say this. The Zoc bonds, there's something that feels off about them to me, but I still like playing with them. Because it allows for lower counter density.
I love it.
I do. I just, there's something I'm like, what the hell? What? But I still love it. I mean, I've still played these and I've
especially
enjoyed it.
love it in Holland 44.
Oh yeah, it's really good.
I think in Holland 44, the Zarkbahn system works really well.
Yeah.
Because you have a mixture of like these rings of Zarks around these airborne pockets, but then also you have a lot of individual chaotic units as like the German random kind of replacements start coming in, and like so you get this really good mix of both.
Yep.
Instead of it being something like Stalingrad 42 was good, but it was just like, here's my long lines of units.
Yeah.
You have to force them into those pockets, and this is such a unique situation that I felt like that Zarkbahn system really like excelled.
And I really feel like this game specifically is 2 games in one. You've got 30 Corps running up Hell's Highway, totally different game than the 3 different pockets of airborne troops at the 3 different bridges trying to
hang on,
hold out,
and hold out.
It's just such a unique experience. To me, though, this series really, and Salerno 43 was absolutely amazing. I loved this game. This game literally came down to the last attack, the last die roll, and I think I was the Allies, and I won because I knocked you out of a hex. That was a VP hex.
Yeah.
And we just had a blast.
And this is a more recent one. It is a shorter game.
Yeah, it's like
8-turn scenario.
I think that you can do the whole 20 turns, but the 8-turn scenario was really meaty.
Yes.
Really meaty.
But also it's a small map and there's few counters, so again, good place to start.
But I think this 4X series really, it's the genesis for this Zachman concept, right? The sticky zones of control between units separated by a hex. That's one of the other things I like about series. There's some experimentation that goes on. Mark Simonich, the designer of this series, did this because he wanted a lower counter density game.
Which is a huge boon to it.
Because it makes it a little more playable. Don't get me wrong. I love stacks. I love long lines. We love those games. These games are really playable and really playable by anyone who has varying levels of experience. So the 4X series, I call it, it's like Stalingrad 42, Salerno 43, Holland 44, Ardennes 44, Normandy 44. What are some of the other ones? France 40.
There was a Ukraine 43.
Yep. France 40.
Some of those
Ukraine,
you can't get anymore.
And I know there's another follow-up game coming out. And North Africa. He's got North Africa.
North Africa is slightly different, though.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking.
No. It's like kind of the Zarkbahn system, but kind of
North
not.
Africa.
Yeah.
Right? That the terrain doesn't always work.
Apparently it looks similar, but apparently the rules are slightly different.
Got it. Anyway, he has other games in this series, particularly following Salerno, coming out. Very good system from GMT. We've enjoyed it. I'll buy every one of these games, and we'll play them. Yeah. So, good games. Really enjoy this series.
Yeah, those are wonderful.
Let's talk about Combat Commander.
Sure. This is one of the first games we ever played, and one of the first series that we ever played.
It is, and it is probably my first love in tactical combat games because it's such a cool system, right? Uses cards, cool system. No dice. This is a diceless war game where you draw a card for your fire attacks, you add up all your modifiers, and you have a total. Oh, I have a 17. What did I need to hit you? 15. Okay, I hit you. Bam. So unique, so interesting, so thematic and narrative generating. Yeah, we've never had a bad time. It's
a fun, enjoyable game, yep.
And it's a big system, right? The first one was Europe, which is this one.
Yes.
Then it followed Mediterranean, which was not an expansion; it's a standalone, but it added in some, Italians and some British troops and other things. And then there's Pacific, which is a whole new theater.
Yes.
Really good, by the way, and really changed a lot of the mechanics.
That was the first one that had like real divergence in some of the rules. And again, in the rule book, there's a big old red box that says like, hey, this is new, this is different, don't do this, don't do this.
Yeah. There's also Resistance. I got a copy finally of Resistance, which is partisan combat behind enemy lines, right?
And then there's all the 10 trillion battle packs and
10
stuff.
Battle packs.
If you're interested in Combat Commander, they have on P500 all of the different nation packs and all this stuff that they're kind of redoing. That's a great opportunity to.
I think they have the European and Mediterranean combined in a Masters.
Like a dual pack.
Yeah, and if you already own those, I think you can order some of the upgrade stuff. But It's been a while since I've thought about. But Combat Commander, we have. Am I correct that we've played this probably more than any single war game that we own? I don't know. Fire in the Lake's starting to catch up with it though, because we have not played Combat Commander that much in the last couple of years.
Yes.
When we first started, I think we played this about 25, 30 times.
Yeah, we played
Tons of
it once a
scenarios.
week for an extremely long, dedicated period of time.
And I have fond memories of that. I think that's why I'm so drawn to it. But a very good system, very good series. Chad Jensen's the designer. He has another series that's called Fighting Formations.
Yes.
Which
I have right here.
We've embarrassingly
Unplayed.
never played. They have a new system or a new entry in that series coming out that I would like to get.
Yes.
But I highlight this one because this is a tactical, squad level. I mean, you're dealing with 8 or 10 guys, right, on a battlefield. 15 at the most, usually. And you're running across open terrain trying to take objectives, kill the other guys that are trying to kill you. It's just a blast.
And it's very much like, you will play and learn this. I think the rule book's pretty hefty. I think it's like 25 pages, maybe 30 pages.
But I don't think it's that difficult, though.
It's organized in quite a unique way.
It is. It is.
But after you've played probably 4 or 5 scenarios, you know pretty much everything that's in there.
Yeah.
And now you're going to play the other 15 scenarios in the box.
Yep.
And then you're going to get the Mediterranean pack, and you're going to play it immediately.
Yep.
And then you're going to pick up some of the battle packs and all that stuff, and you're in it. You're
Yeah.
already there. And this is just, because these are little 2-player games, they don't take that long.
I would disagree with that. Some of these scenarios take like 2 hours because...
Yeah.
But it's really, there's a timer on it, right? I mean,
But like 2 to 3 hours.
yeah, it's
isn't
not
that
a,
long.
it's not a 10-hour
When I look at Holland 44, that's like a 12-hour game.
Yeah,
Right?
15-hour game.
So like, this is,
Agreed.
you're going to play it in an afternoon, right?
Yes.
You're going to whip out a scenario, you're going to play it. If you're having a great time, hey, you play another one, great. But like, this is a game where you play one a week, every week.
Yeah.
For the next year.
Yep.
And it's that kind of a game with that many scenarios and all of the extra stuff that you can get into it.
Just so good.
Yeah.
I have always loved Combat Commander, and I always will.
What do we got in the baggies?
Well, I brought these because I didn't want to just focus on major companies and their series. So if you want to maybe take a couple of these. I think we've played 3 out of these 5. So we haven't played all 5 of them.
Yeah.
But this is the...
Timbers,
Yep.
Kekionga, and Tippecanoe.
Tippecanoe, and then I've got here, this is St. Clair's Folly.
We played St. Clair's Folly.
We have played,
I
sorry,
don't think we did Tippecanoe.
we have not played Tippecanoe. We've
think
played
we did.
these 2, and then we played...
This one.
Yes, Bloody Path. These are from High Flying Dice Games. These are called the Battles of the Old Northwest.
Yes.
And they are, first off, the art is fantastic.
Yes.
They are very simple games. You use a deck of face cards. You take out certain cards. You actually do a war off at the start of each turn. The player that wins then gets a certain amount of activations. They activate their their counters that are included on hexes, and you move around. You fight. You run out of ammo. There's terrain modifiers. It's just a very simple.
This is the rules pamphlet.
And they each have those little rules pamphlets. Yeah. There was a counter that fell out there. We have had a blast with these. I've enjoyed them. They can be played solo as well. But I think the thing I enjoy about this series is they actually all feel very different.
Oh yes, I couldn't. That's very true.
I feel like each of their victory conditions are just a little different. Sometimes it's kill this many units. Sometimes it's hold these hexes. Sometimes it's cross the river.
But even like think about. I think is Tippecanoe the one with the kind of the perspective on the map?
Yes.
Like
it's so unique.
This is a series, and we've talked about. The rules of a series. This is a series where, sure, some of the rules are the same, but this is a series that's tied together purely by theme. That is like the number one thing. It is Battles of the Old Northwest.
Which is Native Americans versus the new American.
And it's all kind of nation. Local to this
Ohio, Illinois,
area.
Indiana, not Illinois, Michigan.
But this is places where we can go and visit a bunch of these places.
Kekionga is in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Yeah.
So
it's fascinating seeing a series of games that is tied by the theme.
Yep.
There's plenty of little battles and skirmishes that they can do within this series.
Yep.
But sometimes it's not just like, it's a rule set and where can we put it? This is a very well thought out, and he picks these battles within this specific time period, within this specific geographical location. Yeah. And that has a lot of merit to it too, because this series obviously shines a light on a lot of battles that most of people don't know about.
The other thing I think that's great about this series is Nils Johansson, which is the artist, and I think these were some of his first games. He's phenomenal. He has now grown and moved on to other games, but his ability and skills are pretty amazing. I'm not sure that's his.
It is.
It is, okay. But even that, I think his art style really is very different from game to game.
So this one says this was from 2020. Do you happen to know how far back some of these go? It would say on
Where
the
did you see the 2020 on? Was it on the rule
that
book?
bit's printed on the rule book.
I know Kekiongo came out in about 2018, because we played it in 2018.
I felt like we played that fairly early.
So my guess is since 2017-18, these have all 5 come out.
Probably.
He now has a new series called The Battles for Canada. I got the first game in ad. I haven't done anything with it. I'll probably solo that one.
Okay.
But anyway, great little series. These are like $12.95 a piece. You get what you get what you pay for. This is a little baggy game, and you got to do a little arts and crafts time.
Buy the ones with the pre-mounted, pre-cut counters.
Yeah, you pay $5 extra. I think.
Spend the $5. Do yourself a favor.
It's very worth it. I just have really always enjoyed these games. Had a good time with them. And you can solo them.
Not every game has to be like a mammoth whole day session, right?
What else do we want to talk about?
Let's talk about some States of Siege.
Okay, States of Siege. I got a whole bunch of those here. I love States of Siege.
A ton of States of Siege. Do I have any back here? Yeah, I do.
Yep.
I have.
So you talk about States of Siege.
Cruel Necessity, Dawn of the Zeds, we have Levy en Masse,
Soviet Dawn, and this one's called Nubia. This is a newer one from White Dog Games.
Yes.
Very cool.
So the States of Siege is a system, is what I would say.
Yep. A great system.
Yes. It's a system that was originally designed by... Was it originally by Herman Lehman or was it by John Welch?
No. So the first one was Darren Leveloff with his Israeli freedom game or something like that.
Okay. I do not know that.
So Darren is the godfather of the States of Siege. And Darren's a really cool guy. He follows us on Twitter and Facebook. And
what's up? Sorry about that.
Yeah. Now, some of the other designers, you've got John Welch,
He's got a lot of them.
Herman Lutman, you've got... trying to remember who did Cruel Necessity.
That was John Welch as well.
Ben Madison's done quite a few. There's a lot of great designers who have done really good games, and they each are different because they deal with a different historical period.
And I would say that this is a much looser series because it's not like this is 1 in the series and this is 2 and this is 3. But you can even see from these boxes, this is across 4 different publishers.
Yeah.
Right? So we got the old Victory Point games.
Yep.
We got Worthington games. You got White Dog games. This is the new Victory Point games.
Yep.
Boo. No.
I'm trying to remember who else has made them.
I'm sure that there's plenty of people that have. I've got like the old Zulus on the Ramparts, which is in one of the pizza boxes. Worthington signed a lot of these new and are doing new.
Yeah, these 2 are deluxe editions. I have Malta Besieged.
And what was the
Cruel Necessity just got a new version that just came out.
Keep Up the Fire.
Yep, Keep Up the
box
Fire.
That one was beautiful as well.
Yep.
So this is a set of solitaire games.
Yeah.
So that's something, again, that's quite different.
Dawn of the Zeds, though, is cooperative. It's not just solitaire, it's cooperative.
Yeah, most of these are solitaire. This one has
cooperative
co-op, and that's really fun. We pretty much do this one exclusively.
We played this a couple months ago and played till like 2 in the morning and played like a 4-hour scenario. It was awesome. We won too.
Yes.
Which was amazing.
Very rare.
Very rare.
So these are typified by you're going to have a set of converging tracks on a goal, and you are typically trying to defend that goal against the incoming threats on those tracks. You are also typically, but not always, going to have a deck of cards that you're playing through, and that's going to be the timer for the game, but that's also going to have like different events on it, and then like how many actions you might take and any special rules and stuff like that. So a lot of these games are like that. Now, there is as many exceptions to that as there are games to follow it.
Oh, yeah.
But that's kind of the core concept. So it's almost like a tower defense style system. So it's perfect for solitaire play. Yep. I'm just trying to like fight all of these off and try to spin all my plates and get to the end.
Most of them are very challenging.
Extremely.
I'm going to be honest. Lots of these, I have like a 25% win percentage. If that.
I've never won this one.
Okay,
and
there you go. I have not played that one.
My understanding is that it is unwinnable, basically.
Okay.
So this is actually coming out with a new edition.
We'll see if
I think they've toned it down a bit. It's
John
really good, but it's absolutely nuts.
I've won this one. I feel like I'm pretty good at this one. This is Darren Leveloff. I have won this one. This one can be really, really challenging. Dawn of the Zeds is very challenging. Nubia is also very challenging, but it's fun.
Keep Up the
they're all
Fire,
great.
Unwinnable.
Yeah, it's very hard. I've tried that a couple of times. The thing I do love about the States of Siege series games, though, is there are new innovations going on all the time.
Yes.
Ben Madison has done, I think, a lot more of the innovating than others. His games, Jeff Davis and Kaiser Krieg,
yes,
do not use cards to get your actions. You pull chits. Very cool. He also has a very unique and interesting system where you go out either with blockade runners or other economic things trying to get your money. And those two things are very unique in those two games, and they are a blast. He also did one of my favorite, and one of the first that I ever played was Mound Builders. Absolutely love that game. That's from Victory Point Games. Yes. I still have that. I thought about breaking it out the other day, but I didn't. But States of Siege, anybody can do these. They're a challenge, which solitaire games should be.
Yes. If a solitaire game, if you beat it the first time, you're much less likely to go back to it.
I don't want to play
it's
that
like,
again.
oh, it's done.
Yeah.
Kind of wasted my money.
But keep these in mind. I feel like this system is just... It's unadulterated fun.
Yeah,
I feel like
the places to kind of keep an eye on is White Dog Games.
Yep.
And if you get, they produce their stuff through Blue Panther, so you go on their website.
So they're print on demand.
They're printing a lot of those, and then Worthington, they're doing deluxe editions, reprints of a lot of the older ones. Yep. So you can get nice new versions of those. Keep in touch with Worthington. They often have Kickstarters a couple times a year with those new States.
And they just had Cruel Necessity on deluxe edition, so it just came out.
So those are the two kind of avenues for getting new ones of those, but you can pick up a lot of these.
Let's do two more. I know we're starting to run. Let's do our leader series.
Yes.
And then let's try to do the lock and load tactical. Well, we got. Yeah,
we'll do some.
Let's do these a little quicker. I feel like we're overwhelming.
So this is another solitaire system. Yep. This is the Leader series from DVG.
So good.
Yes. Now the Leader series from DVG is also huge at this point.
They have a leader series for everything.
Yes, and if they don't, they're coming out with one soon.
They are.
So the leader series, this is typified by you have like a squadron or a group of something, and it's managing that, sending them all out on missions. Mm-hmm. So you have to complete these mission objectives over the course of a campaign and make sure that you get enough victory points across all those missions, and that like all your pilots survive, for example, right? Or enough of them. And then you're going to win a campaign. Because I don't know what you would say is resolving a mission for one of these games, it's pretty straightforward. Resolving a campaign for these, that's where the game is.
Usually a mission will take you 20 to 30 minutes, right?
Yeah, but I feel like for something, Phantom Leader, it's even quicker than that.
Yeah. So, some of these are a little longer.
Yes.
But then a campaign might be 4 or 5 of those.
At least, yeah.
Or 6, or depending on the length.
Yes.
The other thing I really enjoy about these is you have a certain amount of RP points, I think they call them.
Yeah, typically.
And they're not replacement points. I can't remember what it stands for.
Resource points.
Resource points. But you get a certain amount based on the scenario, and you have to then buy your tanks or your planes or your subs and your ammo and your guys, and you have veteran guys and you have green guys. Some guys have a lot of stress on them, like your pilots, and they don't perform as well when they have stress on them. So you've got to manage You
Yes.
can't send the same guys out on every single mission.
And that's the beauty of something like Phantom Leader. That's why I really like it, is that it was, you're the CAG and you are managing your pilots.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys are going out on patrol.
Yep.
You guys are not.
Take some R&R.
Yeah, like, hey, these guys are back. It's your turn to go out now. And you're trying to rotate guys in, and then it's like, I really need this one guy, but he's not having a good time.
Yeah.
How far can I lean on him before he snaps? That's a really cool thing to do.
And the interesting thing is each of the cards, so that guy you're talking about, he has a name.
Yes.
He has grown and developed from a green guy all the way up to a veteran or an ace. He has a certain amount of stress that he can take before then he starts getting negatives, like -1 on evasion or -1 on bombing runs or whatever it is. And ultimately he's going to end up getting killed because he's not as effective as maybe someone who's fresh, even if they're maybe less veteran.
Yeah. I think these games tell some really cool stories.
Oh,
like that.
fantastic.
And that's one of the things I love about this.
Well, and you get attached to the guys.
Yes.
Oh, Cooper, he's my really great tank leader.
It's a role-playing game.
Oh my gosh, he just got killed, and you're pissed, you know?
Yeah.
You're pissed.
There are times I have to walk away from the table.
I
on this
know.
game. When people
I've thrown dice.
When people get shot down, I'm like, I feel sick.
Yeah, I know, I get it. But that's a testament to this series.
I agree.
That they can do something that makes you feel that way about a war game. And I have felt that way about all these games that I've played. Gato Leader. I've had subs go down, and I'm like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
Sherman Leader. I've had veteran guys that get like headshotted because you're pulling damage out of a chit cup. And you never know what's going to come out. But it's so cool to see those guys grow and develop, and you care about them.
Yeah.
It's an odd...
And you get the replacement in, and you're like,
He's just not as good. Then you start caring about him because he's getting good and he's been through some tough
and you're like, yeah, like you blooded the newbie. So we have here a really nice selection of quite different ones.
Yep.
Thunderbolt Apache Leader is also one that's really, really good.
Well, and I would also, Corsair Leader was very, very cool. I have Stuka Leader that I still haven't played, but we just got it.
But what you'll find is that there are some games that are very similar.
Yeah.
So you can have Sherman Leader and Tiger Leader. Those are going to play very similarly.
Yep.
Phantom Leader plays very similarly to a lot of the
Air War
they have F-18 Leader and IAF Leader, Hornet Leader. Yeah. You know, the jet airplane air war games, a lot of those are very similar. So then you know, that's the nice thing about this series is you kind of don't have to get them all.
Yeah.
You can if you want to, but
Get
you
one
can,
or two.
You can pick and choose lots of different types. Or if you really like one and you want to get all the jet air war games, you can also do that.
Yeah.
I think it's easier to customize this series
than
some of the other ones where it's like, just gotta get them all.
I will say this about this solitaire. It's just fun. It's just utter fun. Tells great narratives, and they're kind of addicting. I've caught myself many times. It's 2 a.m. and I'm like, just one more mission.
Oh yeah.
And when I was younger, I did that a lot more. Regularly, I'd be up till 2:30, having to get up at 7:30 for work. I can't do that anymore. I really can't. But if a game can do that to you and make you feel the way that we described, there's something to be said about it.
Yeah, this is a series where if you like solitaire gaming, pick one that is the theme that you're interested in, and you're probably going to have a damn good time with it.
One other series I want to call out, because we've talked about tactical. You might want to go ahead and pull up.
Sure.
Because I got to look over this box. Sorry.
These are two
very different series.
Quite different.
Well,
they share a lot of similarities.
They do,
actually,
because Mark Holt Walker used to own that and do it. And
two different systems.
Yeah.
So, OST.
Old School Tactical by Flying Pig Games. This is a really, I consider this a really high-powered, in-your-face tactical game. Combat is very deadly. Melee is very deadly. Everything is very deadly. There's a lot of combined arms in this. You have a lot of tanks, armored vehicles. They even have an airborne edition. There's a Japanese edition. We have played all of them. We have a good time with it. I just love them. Yes. I absolutely love this system. You can see they're huge boxes. partly because there's huge mounted map boards.
The
in
mounted
here.
maps are massive in there.
Well, and I don't like them really. I'd rather just have smaller maps that I can manage. But
Yeah, compared to
anyway,
so
great system.
here I've got Lock and Load Tactical System. These are the 2 new expansions from Heroes of the Bitter Harvest.
Which is over there.
Which I actually have, that's on my unboxing shelf
Yeah.
because I need to unbox it. We just got that in. It's brand new, hot off the press. This is also a very rich, very established tactical system. This one does have small card geomorphic maps, right?
Yeah.
So that's a nice bonus because it doesn't have quite the table creep. But this is also a big one. We've played a couple in this series. I have the solo module for this series. It works well.
Yeah, we've played Pacific, Normandy.
I played Falklands.
Yeah, I mean we've played multiples.
Yeah, we got this one. Again, a couple expansions that come with it as well.
I like this system because it's very crunchy.
Very crunchy.
There's a spotting requirement, then there's a fire requirement, and then there's penetration and damage. I mean, very, very involved.
The nice thing about Lock and Load is that you can learn this tactical system and you can parlay a lot of this knowledge into Point Blank.
Yeah.
Because the actual combat
Uses the same
systems
system.
is very, very
And
similar.
Point Blank is the card game that we
it's
played last year.
like a
It's
spatial card game, really, really good. So that's a really interesting thing of like 2 series kind of bleeding into each other.
Yep. While he's looking for I think this is the
Red Box series.
go ahead.
It's not red.
Yeah.
We have Traces of War from VUCA Simulations we talked about earlier.
Yep.
This is an extremely easy, introductory, but meaty Hex Encounter
you can
war
jump
game.
right in and play it.
You're going to play one of these in like a 1 evening or 1 day session. Really, really, really good.
The cool thing about this one, though, is it actually has 3 different fronts, right? Army Group North, Army Group Center, Army Group South. And you can play this with 6 people, and everybody has 5. One army, and we didn't play it that way. We just played one mapper, but this one has a lot of options to it.
Yeah, this one's very modular. You can play 1 map, and that takes a certain amount of time. You can play 2 maps, you can play 3 maps, you can play all sorts of configurations within that. Really, really good system. I highly, highly, highly recommend A Victory Awaits.
And we're on the lookout for those other, a victory denied, a victory missed, a victory desired. I mean,
I don't even know the names
I know.
of them.
I'm just throwing names out, but that brings me to I think my final couple of points about series. There's a lot of things that I love.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of things that I don't. Right. I'm a completionist.
Sure.
I'm a collector.
Series
Most of
are
us
expensive.
Series can be very expensive. And I can tell you, I have spent many years trying to get every single Coin Series game.
Yep.
I finally, two Christmases ago, you bought me Cuba Libre, threw that on the shelf, and I had a moment of pride where I had all 10 of the published versions on my shelf. It was a thing of beauty. Took me a couple of years to get there. Now there's more coming out. I think this year we're going to get at least 2.
But it's easy to get the ones that are new.
It is much easier, but there's the completionist, right? You have one, and we've fallen prey to this.
Yes.
We loved SCS. Now you bought 15 of those. I bought 2 or 3, and now we've got 20 that we got to figure out how to play. So there's a little bit of that throwing some caution to the wind.
I have so much GBOH on the shelf, and it's
we didn't even talk about GBOH. We didn't even talk about Battles of the American Revolution. There's so many good series. But the other thing that I think in my mind series can get really stale.
Yes.
If, as I mentioned earlier about an hour ago, a designer will just knock off the name and call it something else and use the same things. Now, that doesn't happen a lot, but some series games can become very repetitive.
Yeah, and I think as I kind of do more wargaming and are in this hobby longer, I feel like I'm able to diagnose that a bit better.
Sure.
So think about something like the Leader series. I played Corsair Leader, I played Zero Leader. Those were very similar.
Right.
And it was almost as if one had just been reskinned. And I know that series takes a lot of flack for that. But I do think there's enough variation between some of the titles.
Sure.
Like Spruance Leader is very different from Phantom Leader.
Yeah.
Thunderbolt Apache Leader is very different from Gato Leader. So but being able to like identify that and pick and choose ones that you're like, that's too slow. I don't need that. That's a skill that I think people are going to acquire.
But that comes into direct conflict with the completionist and the collection.
Yes.
Bug in me.
And I say that because I have kind of had to teach myself to like try to not be that.
No, I get it. I get it.
And that's very hard.
You're much better at it than I am. I still, to this
Yeah.
day, will just buy a game because it's a series game.
And
that's okay.
There are some series where I do feel that way.
Yeah. But I think series games are there for a reason. People become comfortable with them. They like what they like. They know what they like.
And
they enjoy it. And that's fine.
And no one should be shamed for that.
No.
That is a perfectly acceptable and commendable way to engage in a wargaming hobby.
Agree.
I was thinking about, on something of a tangent, I was thinking about my problems with wargame purchasing because we have not played a tactical combat series game, which is TCS, and yet I own one. And I have one on pre-order as well.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So, like, no one's
proving my
immune to
point.
this.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, that's a system where I'm like, it's so different.
Yeah.
And I desperately want to play it and enjoy it.
Sure.
That I'm like, I'm just going to...
You know, there's another series that the Great Statesman series from GMT.
Yes.
Right? You've got Churchill.
That is a much looser series, too.
It is. Each of them, you've got Pericles, you've got Versailles, which I think was very different than the other two. But the concepts there are generally similar, right? You're still working over issues, political issues, concepts. You're throwing in some combat as well, and ultimately churning it all up, and what comes out is victory or defeat. And I love those series. There are many series that I love.
Yes.
And if I had to pick my top three, I would say no, I'm not saying it. So
Really?
it's almost impossible.
Okay.
I mean, Coin Series is up there.
Coin series, standard combat series, and then I would say... Those are two like where I'm like, yeah, I would definitely do that.
4X Series is hard for me not to say. OST is hard for me not to say.
Would I say Commands and Colors?
Oh, see, we didn't even talk about Commands and Colors.
Look, I would also say the Dark series from Teresa. Those
Dark
games were
Sands, Dark
incredible.
Valley. Oh, my. So, you can't.
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
that's valid. Okay.
If I had to pick... Now, if you told me the top 20 series, I'd have a little easier time doing that. I'd just name every series.
Yeah.
But... So anyway, think about that. What are your top three favorite series? What do you like about them? What
There's stuff we don't even like talk about or like get to, like GTS, GOS, great campaigns of the American Civil War that Mike plays. There's got a ton of them. I've got how many great battles of the American Civil War? I've got 3 of those on my shelf. I don't even like the American Civil War.
You got Blind Swords,
What are
you
we
got
doing?
Black Swan. I mean, there's so many series games out there.
ASL.
ASL. There you go. A lot of people would say that's their favorite series.
Of course they would.
So anyway, I've appreciated this discussion of series games. There's a lot to like. There's some things that sometimes are troubling, but I think series are worth it. I love series, and I will continue to play certain series, no doubt.
I couldn't agree more. I like that it's because I digest a rule book a week pretty much.
Yeah.
Probably on average, that's true, and it's a lot. And people are like, how do you do it? And I'm like, well, I just forget the one from the week before. So series rule books are really good for me because it's much less uptake and input for me.
Sure.
And that way I can just play a game.
Yeah.
And I love doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think that's the other thing I really like about series. Sometimes I'm really comfortable with them. I just feel like I'm playing a game.
Agreed.
I'm not necessarily learning a new game. I'm just playing a game.
Sometimes I don't want to learn a new game.
Right.
I think about when we first started wargaming, and every game was new.
Every game was new.
Every series was new, and it was intense.
Right. But we found 3 or 4 that we really liked, and we kept playing them over and over again.
The second and the third coin games, and the new expansion to Combat Command, you're like, ooh, it's all new.
Yeah.
But it's not.
It feels familiar.
And then you start easing into all this other stuff. I don't know.
No doubt. No doubt.
Thank you for joining us on our
That was fun.
odyssey of series games. And we didn't die to the Tower of Terror, which is very grateful.
Right. I feel very...
It was very wobbly.
It was very... And I put a small game on the bottom, and that was bad.
And then it was the those magazine games that are kind of like
yeah, that was bad.
like chock full. So.
Yeah. And now it's over here on the floor, but it's not going to hurt anybody now.
But thank you for joining us. Let us
Thank
know
you.
what your favorite series of games are, and let us know why. That's what I'm interested in. What do you love about a series? What's your favorite series and why? Let us know in the comments. But appreciate you all very much for tuning in. I've been Alexander from theplayersaid.com.
And I'm Grant.